Hey my friend, thanks for checking out this video where I'm going to be taking a look at a couple of movies with very similar themes, and I'm going to tell you which one I think did it better. And so today I am going to go back to 1993 and 94. I'm going to take a look at a couple of westerns that were released a few months apart, both examining the life and legend of Wyatt Earp. That's right. Today, going mano a mano, we have Tombstone versus Wyatt Earp. Before I get going, though, I'd like to ask you to take the time and subscribe to my channel. Also, be sure to smash that like button, turn on the notifications. I do thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. And so, with that being said, let's go ahead and get going with today's matchup. Tombstone was directed by George P. Cosmatos, who also directed Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Cobra. This one stars Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp, Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday, and Sam Elliott and Bill Paxton as Wyatt's brothers, Virgil and Morgan. Tombstone picks up at the point in Wyatt's life when him and his two brothers, along with their wives, moved to Tombstone to strike it rich. Wyatt is no longer a marshal, but is drawn back into law enforcement when the town sheriff is gunned down in the street by a drunken cowboy. This all leads up to the infamous gunfight at the OK Corral. The performances in Tombstone are top-notch, to say the least, from top to bottom. I have loved Kurt Russell for as long as I can remember it. This is one of his absolute best performances, right up there with Bone Tomahawk, which is one of my absolute favorite movies. Val Kilmer also turns in the performance of his career as Doc Holliday. Oh, and speaking of characters, there are two minor characters in Tombstone that are clearly, at least as I saw it, part of the LGBTQ family. Now, this partially went over my head back in the 90s when I saw Tombstone back then. One of them is an actor, Mr. Fabian, who's played by Billy Zane, who was always kind of known for playing sexually ambiguous roles, or at least I thought he did. But the one that went over my head was the character of Billy Breckenridge, who is played by Jason Priestley. He is infatuated with Mr. Fabian in this movie, and at the end, and in a very subtle way, it's implied that the two men were actually in love, or at least Billy was in love with Mr. Fabian. So I found that kind of interesting. Clearly, Cosmatos felt comfortable with action flicks, and so it's no big surprise that of the two movies, Tombstone is the more action-packed. Combined with a brilliant cast, I could not take my eyes off the screen. I don't think I had seen this movie for 25 years or so, and I have no idea why, to be honest with you. I friggin' love Tombstone, and that's why it gets 5 stars from me. Hey Fred, pardon the interruption, but I just wanted to take a sec and invite you to join me on Patreon. Your support will be greatly appreciated, and every dime that I bring in through membership goes directly towards publishing and marketing costs of all of my upcoming books, like Slade, which will be my first novel. And every tier is full of rewards like exclusive access to my entire short story library, exclusive videos, polling privileges, and exclusive first draft reading privileges for all my novels. That means you will be the first to read my books. And even right now, the first draft of the first couple of chapters of Slade are on Patreon, available for my members. And if you join today, all 4 tiers have a 7-day free trial, so you can check out many of the rewards with 0 obligation. I really appreciate your consideration and support. Now, on to the rest of the video. Tombstone was released on Christmas Day in 1993 and was a huge, if not surprising, hit. Well, 6 months later, Wyatt Earp, directed by Lawrence Kasdan, director of The Big Chill and I Love You to Death, one of my favorite comedies, was released. Unlike Tombstone, though, Wyatt Earp failed to resonate with audiences, but does that stack up to Tombstone in quality? Let's find out. Whereas Tombstone focuses on one tiny portion of Wyatt Earp's life, Wyatt Earp tells the story of his entire life, and I mean his entire life, from childhood on. I mean, this movie is long, and it really does feel like it. The last third of the movie concentrates on the Tombstone years. That's pretty similar to the movie Tombstone. Well, the first 2 hours is spent navigating through Wyatt's early life, including one of his brothers dying in the war, and Wyatt losing his first wife to typhoid fever. So needless to say, my reaction to Wyatt Earp was much more mixed than it was for Tombstone. Let's start with one thing I thought was done more effective than in Tombstone, which is in Wyatt Earp, it goes a lot farther into Wyatt and Maddie's relationship, a lot deeper. I understood the complexity of their relationship a bit more in Wyatt Earp than I did in Tombstone. And that's because Wyatt Earp is really more of a melodrama than an action western movie, so it delves more into the human relationship aspects of the story, something Lawrence Kasdan was well known for throughout his career. Okay, let's move on to the performances, and let's begin with Kevin Costner. I will admit, Kevin Costner has really never been what I would call one of my favorites, but there are a couple of his movies that I'm quite fond of. But if I had one single issue with this movie, it would be his performance. He seemed like he was sleepwalking through this movie. I kept thinking he was just basically reprising his Elliot Ness character, and then I realized that maybe that's what's always driven me nuts about him, is that in every movie he plays the same character. It was really annoying in Wyatt Earp. Never did I believe he was this legendary gunslinger. The rest of the cast ranged from serviceable to abysmal, which I don't get because Wyatt Earp is stacked with stars. Dennis Quaid gave one of the better performances as Doc Holliday, but still not at the level that Val Kilmer did in Tombstone. And I get it, they're two different interpretations of the same character, but any critic reviewing these two movies together are going to compare those performances. I think Kasdan was seeing just how many big-name celebrities he could get to be in one movie without regard as to whether or not they even fit the roles that they were being assigned to. I mean, my God, even the mom from Little House on the Prairie is in Wyatt Earp. The other issue I had with this movie, besides the length, is that they decided to go for a PG-13 rating. And I'm assuming this was done in an attempt to attract younger audiences. Well, big surprise, it didn't work. And what we are left with is something that feels really watered down, kind of like a TV movie, making Wyatt Earp feel pretty bland in the process. I'd almost recommend Wyatt Earp if it weren't for Costner and the length of the movie, but as it stands, Wyatt Earp gets kind of a bland, like the movie is, 2-star rating from me. Okay, so given my ratings, I think it's obvious who I think did it better. 1993's Tombstone is a contemporary classic Western, so much so that 94's Wyatt Earp has largely been forgotten, and for good reason. It's overblown, overdramatic, and the role of Wyatt was really badly miscast. So who did it better? Tombstone did it better. Once again, if you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel, and if you'd like to support my work, not only here on my channel, but also with all the stories and books that I'll be publishing, and receive a ton of rewards and freebies in the process, well, I'd love to have you join me on Patreon as well. So I wouldn't be able to do this without you, my friends. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. That is it for this video. I had a really good time doing this. Thank you so much for joining me, and bye for now.